almost feel like they were destined for a life of long, luxurious fantasy gowns and being surrounded by old leather-bound books and potion bottles and walls of dried herbs looking out of your tower window onto a magical kingdom down below. Let's do something about that. Basically that season of Once Upon a Time when they go to Camelot, Regina is back in her full fantasy getup. She's in Merlin's little magic lab, just concocting little potions and spells and going through all the books. That right there, that is how my life should be. I feel that in the depths of my soul. My life should look like that. Drawing on this, I've got 9 meters of this beautiful blue velvet in which I will be making a historically inaccurate medieval Merlin dress with the primary purpose and ultimate goal of making me feel even a fraction of the drama that is Regina Mills, with maybe a little dash of Mother Gothel and a sprinkling of Morgana Pendragon. Let's talk designs. There were 6 iterations of this design. I did 3, Dan did 3. In the end, I did pare it back a little bit from some of the more complicated designs we came up with, because quite frankly, velvet speaks for itself. The winning design, going with an almost cliche medieval silhouette. I did briefly consider doing a more squared neckline, but decided I wanted the drama of the off-shoulder look instead. With the sleeves, I wanted them to be big and dramatic, but I also wanted them to be practical. In my mind of this medieval Merlin, Merlin's gonna be mixing potions and writing in her spell book and all this kind of stuff. Having sleeves which are gonna get in the way of that, like as a crafter and a baker, I know how much of an absolute pain it can be if you've got flared sleeves and you just can't do anything in them. The 2-layered design I thought worked really well. It means that it will never fall down and be in the way, so you can still practically do stuff like, you know, mixing potions and whatnot without accidentally setting your sleeves on fire. Practical. For this project, I have also acquired some voguish, happening, up to the minute spiffy trims and cords to embellish with. Those are synonyms for cool, in case you were wondering. Spiffy and happening indeed. I'm really looking forward to putting these on. You've seen the design, you've seen the fabric, you've seen the embellishments. To save myself some time in this project, in theory, I have this delightful medieval costume pattern, which as you can see does differ from my design. So I will be making some alterations and adjustments as I go. Shocker. I also know right off the bat that I need to adjust the size on this as well, because it is going to be too big for me. The issue with the pattern is it came in 2 blocks of sizing, only I needed a pattern that was between the biggest size on the small range and the smallest size on the big range. But I went with the bigger range of sizes, and I'm just gonna trim it down and hope I come out with something that's roughly a good enough fit. I should have absolutely tons of velvet. Granted, I haven't actually checked how much fabric this pattern requires, so I'm just assuming I've got plenty. Well, I think that's enough chit chat from me for now. Let's go cut out some pretty velvet. With the pattern cut out, I made some size adjustments to the bodice to fit me better. I didn't bother doing any for the skirt panels as they were pretty close to my size and it was a lace-up back anyway. I then moved to start cutting out the velvet and instantly ran into multiple problems. I'm currently trying to figure out how to lay the panels on the fabric so that I can cut these skirt and bodice panels as one piece. 3 and 6, which are the back panels, are fine, but I have decided I am going to extend the skirt to a bit more of a train. The side front panels are an issue because it turns out on the design, the seams on those don't actually line up. This is harder than I thought it would be. I regret my choices. I need to take this excess chunk on panel 5 and add it to panel 4, which falls short. I really hope it's as easy as that, but I don't think it will be. Let's see what happens. Operation Success. It took me a very long time to figure out how to lay out all of the panels in a way that meant the velvet pile would all go in the same direction. By the time I got there, I just went ahead and cut them out and only remembered to film this last panel. Due to their massive size, I decided to pin all of the panels together downstairs. I also realised I hadn't cut any notches in yet, so I did that as I went along too. Keen-eyed among you may have noticed I'm working in my pajamas today. If I am to be completely honest with you, my brain isn't working too well. I don't entirely know what's wrong with it. I'm just having a weird spell and I couldn't get dressed today, so I kind of gave up and decided that I'm just gonna do some stuff in my pajamas because I feel good in my pajamas, so I'm gonna stay in them. I've just folded the machine up. I'm gonna stitch the lining and then I'm gonna stitch the panels that I've just pinned together, which will give me the base shape of the dress to then cut and shape how I want it later, and possibly some size adjustments because I don't think I've done it the right size, but we'll stress about that later. I'm saying this really quickly because I've just noticed how low the battery is on my camera. I've only just switched the battery and put the other one on charge, so apparently I didn't charge this one, which tracks. Once it dies, there'll probably be a time jump. The sun is shining in the studio underneath the desk, and there's just a really warm sunspot where my foot is on the pedal. It feels really nice. We have a lining. Now for the part I have feared, sewing velvet for the first time. Crafting gods, be kind to me. Going in. Alright. I tried to Google some tips for sewing velvet. Most of them were kind of useless. The only one I really remember is something about stitching slowly on the machine. I don't know why. It's kind of already infuriating. On the off chance it does help, I'm going to try and stick to that. I immediately did not stick to that. I like to just put my foot to the pedal and just floor it because I'm impatient. Oh, it's flashing red now. We're not long for this world. I managed to get a few more panels done, but my camera did in fact die, just in time for you to miss me horrendously stabbing myself with the machine needle. I lived, but the remainder of the day is phone footage. Dress is sewn together. It's not that bad. I need to take the shoulders in, currently pin them even shorter to compensate for the fact that I cut the panels wrong, and I think I can get away with it. Here is my question. Why are the legs doing this? Like, it looks fine when it's down, but any kind of lift in the skirt and you just start to see all this puckering. Is that like a I need to iron the seams but can't kind of thing? I know my mirror is incredibly dusty, but ignore it. Base dress is on the mannequin. Further alterations later. For now, I'm going to focus back on the lining by adding all of the boning channels in, so this has a little bit more structure than it currently does. Over and out. Just realising how much I can't stand in my usual spot because there's a big pile of stuff in the way. that works. So the studio is a mess, and we're going to ignore that and kick everything to the side. Done a lining with a bunch of boning in it. The rough basic dress minus the sleeves. I wanted to do those embroidery details on the sleeves. I very much felt like I needed to do that before assembling the sleeves and attaching them and adding the lining and all of that. So we're going to sit and do that this morning and then get back to the big dress construction later on. This might even be a little bit messy for me. I'm aware this is not on properly because you're supposed to do the band thing that kind of hold the sides out, but it's very quick, very basic embroidery, so I don't want to. As always, I've been on Pinterest. I've seen some cool, very simple star work, some gold beads that I just had in the stash. Hoping I've got some threads that can pass for gold. We're just going to keep this very simple and very basic, and I apologize for how frequently the sun keeps changing today. I have this one, which is the perfect color, but there's hardly any of it. I'm going to go with this one instead because there's loads. Even though it's a little bit more yellow, it's fine, we'll work with it. I usually put the camera there, but there's such a big pile of stuff.
The hole has been filled by the thing it fears most. Stuff.
It was fine, I just kicked the stuff further to the side. I decided to start the sleeve by putting in the Leo constellation to feed my ego. I then surrounded this with a random dispersion of different star types. I actually really enjoyed doing this, it was definitely fun. Unfortunately, when I tried to add some beads, I realised they were too small for my needles, so I had to live without them. The embroidery is finished, and I have actually cleared the floor today, so I must be feeling better. The sleeves aren't actually attached, they're just pinned on. I don't know how much of that you can actually make out. It looks really cool. Got the other arm as well. I'm really happy with these. I wasn't able to put the beads on because they were smaller than all of my needles. I really need to invest in some small needles. I did manage to put some little me Easter eggs in there. Each sleeve has a constellation on it. Obviously I filmed putting in the Leo constellation, but the other one I did not film, so I will be incredibly impressed if anybody can actually find it and get what it is when I show the results. I need to get those sleeves actually sewn together and assembled, and then I'll be getting all the lining inside the dress. Once the lining is finally inside and the sleeves are on, I can sort out the neckline, because right now it's the square neckline that the pattern came in. I'm going to be changing it to not completely off the shoulder, but just so it kind of grazes being an off shoulder neckline. And then I need to do the hangy downy bits on the sleeves. I don't know what to call them. They just hang down. I was umming and ahhing about a couple of different fabrics I had in my stash. I was leaning towards a gold kind of palette because I felt like it would bring out things like the trims that I've picked and the embroidery that I've done. We picked this up from the craft barn a while ago, and both sides of it are absolutely beautiful and are blue and gold. I'm going to be using the primary gold side, and it's got a very small blue pattern in it. This is an old sari fabric, so there's plenty to be able to cut out those huge panels. Table's not big enough. This is harder than it looks. Ah, screw it, I'm putting it on the floor. Sleeve panels have been cut out for later. I don't know why I ever think cutting stuff out upstairs is going to be a good idea, because it basically never is. I appear to have misplaced my lining sleeves, and I have a feeling I folded them up in that massive pile of blue fabric when I cleared the floor earlier. Gosh darn it. If I were asleep, where would I be? Where would Sophie idiotically put me, thinking I should remember it when she doesn't? The studio's not that big. There's not many places it could be. Found them. I got to work on assembling all 4 sleeves, and I realised saying it like that does make me sound like an alien. Oh yeah, this feels good. This feels right. I'm happy with this. I already attached the lining sleeves off camera as a warm-up to the main event. I personally find sleeves to be the most difficult stage of every project, so I pinned them and then tacked them in place as best as I could before going near the machine. I slotted the lining in place, securing it at the cuffs, neckline and seams. The original pattern had a very square neckline, which I did not want to keep. To help me visualize the shape, I pinned on the trims and belt to get a better idea of how the end result might look. Even though I was happy with the first neckline, the lining didn't reach that high, so in the end I had to cut the neckline down to where the lining reached on the inside. This meant it reverted back to the square shape a little bit, but overall it was still more rounded than how it started. Good morning! Today we are wearing a tiara. It is my birthday and I want to wear a tiara, so I am. Life is good. And in that vein, the first distraction of this morning is going to be, I came across these. If you don't know what these are, what rock were you living under as a child? They are candy sticks. You get tattoos inside. And this is a Barbie one, so I'm gonna put on a Barbie tattoo. And my grown adult ass is way too excited about this. I did literally buy it for the tattoo and not for the sweets. It's so cute. If ye old memory serves, you just stick these on and then hold the flannel on, right? 20 seconds, then remove. Let's do it. For the record, the last time I did this wasn't as a child. It was like, I think I did one a couple of months ago, actually. I vaguely remember having a Batman one. You never get too old for temporary tattoos. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. Check out my Barbie tattoo. Anyway, back to work. I left off yesterday having tacked the lining in place. I need to put the bias tape on around the neckline, and then I'm going to cover the bias tape with this gold trim. Once I've done that, I then need to do the drapey dramatic sleeve bits, put the trim on the sleeves. I need to decide whether or not I'm adding trim to the handhole portion of the sleeve, and then the bottom of the dress also needs hemming, and the eyelets need to go on the back, and then when I've done all of that, it will be finished and I can finally do the shoot. Busy day ahead. We're plainer than I remember. Back to the drape sleeves, I hit problems. Oh, so many problems. A big one that didn't help was how much the satin slipped on the velvet when I was trying to machine it. An absolute nightmare. This looks terrible. Probably the worst thing I have ever sewn. It looks awful. Obviously, I had the issue with the fabrics being too slidey against each other, so it definitely didn't sew down that smoothly, so it's definitely got a bunch of bubbles in it. Even if that hadn't happened, I think it would still look bad, because look at that. It just, I don't know, I just feel like it's really stiff and the fabric is too thick. It doesn't have enough drape for this to actually work. See what I mean? It just kind of sticks in these weird, just rigid shapes that I feel like don't look good. It's definitely because the fabric is too stiff. I don't know. I'm hesitant. I'm very, very hesitant. After much debate and consulting with Dan, I decided to cut the satin off the velvet and roll hem the edges so the draped sleeves would just be that one layer of fabric, which I'm very grateful was an option because both sides of it were so nice. Before finishing off the sleeves, I decided to take a break and hand stitch the gold trim around the neckline. Fun fact, I have been working with one needle for this whole project because I've lost my other ones, and I am at the very end of sewing the trim on. And this happened. Who has this kind of strength? What? I then stayed up late finishing off the hem from earlier. And of course I did a layout shot for motivation because I was getting really tired by this point. Finally, for the very last step, I hand-stitched the trim over the draped sleeves and was very happy to finally have this dress finished. We are on beautiful location for a shoot and our lens just broke, so we can't finish the shoot. We're gonna walk home and recover from that, and I will do the rest of the results and the close-ups and everything at home in the studio. And replace the lens. Well, that was eventful. Whilst the results shoot didn't exactly go according to plan, I love it, so I'm okay. It is possibly my most favourite dress ever. There are some issues with it, primarily the fit around the neckline. Not great. The boning isn't sitting particularly well in that it keeps pushing the neck to fold like that, so I think I need to go back in, cut the boning possibly a little bit shorter and try and secure it down a little bit more. I've got a couple of tweaks that I want to make, but just the overall look of the dress, I love it so much. It's just so pretty and soft and beautiful, and I want to wear it always. As mentioned earlier in the video, I did hide a second constellation in the other sleeve, which I did include a close-up of in the results, but in case you missed it, here it is again. If anybody can spot and identify the constellation, let me know in the comments and I will be thoroughly impressed. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed this project. I apologise for the roller coaster of emotions that were experienced this week, along with the somewhat anticlimactic results considering the lens broke, but hopefully we'll have a new one sorted for the next video. I wish you good tidings and much merriment, and I will see you all in my next video. I forgot to say, don't forget to like, subscribe and comment because I love chatting with you all in the comment section, and my next video will be somewhat related to the vibe and aesthetic of this dress, but it will be more house renovation based. Why did you go so dark? I'm filming here. Thank you. Blah blah blah. We're gonna get these steel. Blech. Okay, we'll go lens shopping.